Good morning, Senate Agriculture back in action. We're going to spend some time now talking with Director of Property Valuations and Review, Department of Taxes, Jill Remick. And the subject is about the equine industry and seeing if there could be an exemption for current use for the equine industry, different than what it is now. And new farm structures with the buildings that maybe have not properly filed for their rebates for current use or exemption for current use, or however that proper wording is. So we had spoke with the Department of Taxes, and they're back to report back to us. Whatever their findings may be. So welcome. Come on up. The floor is yours.
Good morning. My name is Jill Remick. I'm the Director of Property Valuation and Review at the Tax Department. So I guess you could start with the language to include equine related farming as part of the definition of farming for enrollment in the current use program.
Yep.
We've seen language from the Horse Council and reviewed that with our legal team, right? So we like the focus on income. That seemed to be the point that the committee was interested in as well, not just sort of,
Right.
for lack of a better word, time farm, but making it clear that it is about income from the business of doing these equine related activities that are considered farming in other parts of statute. So keeping that definition of income. So just as a reminder for farm buildings or under 25 acre ag enrollment right now, it has to be a farmer that makes 50% or more of their income from the business of farming. So I think that was an appropriate approach here to sort of list, okay, and the farming income can include income related to these items. Because right now, what we're doing is we're looking at their, Schedule S, Schedule C, whatever their tax returns are.
Take one column over, see if we can move some other exemptions.
And very literally moving things that might say like leasing or lessons and things into that non-farming income. That's what I think is tripping up some of these folks. So I think that focus on the definition of farm income is the right approach. There's obviously like little language things that I think Budget Council will work out as far as like the location of where these changes go, or like I said to Maggie, the term bona fide is hard to define, right? So we want to be really clear about like what we mean by these activities,
right?
So that we can, have something sort of to hold our hat on and make clear folks who are asking those questions.
I like clarity.
Yeah. So that's really all I had on that. I have the language up, but we haven't changed anything, made any suggestions other than just that sort of narrowing of bona fide and focusing on the income definition.
Okay. And so, yep. Sorry. No, go ahead.
So Jill, just for clarity, if someone ran a horse farm and made 50% of their income from riding lessons, this would then allow them to take advantage of current use?
So right now they can.
Right. But
so if the definition of income from farming includes riding lessons, then yes, in that case they would.
So would we have to specifically list those provisions?
Yeah, so I think
so. It sounds like you've moved some things over. I think a lot of these questions would be answered if you were able to show us what you've moved over. Are you able to do that? Of what you've shared with Maggie, at least?
Right. So you would want to sort of provide that definition, and I think this language does list those things, right? So specifically, boarding, riding instruction, leasing, horse sales. But it has to be, 1/2 of the person's annual gross income. Sorry, here it is. From equine related activities, including boarding, training, lessons, leasing, breeding, and sale of horses.
Yeah.
So lessons could be anywhere from riding to showing how to take care of a horse.
I think the biggest thing is that it would actually have to show that there was a money's crossed the table, that it was actually somebody paid for the services that were provided. Is that right with that?
Right. So we actually get that sort of information from their income tax returns, and then if we need more information, we ask for that kind of clarity.
Yeah.
Right, so down to like, you know, when you get chicks on this day, it's a big crop versus when you sell the chickens on this, you know, there's lots of those sort of specificities that we can get into. And I think for the purposes of this, and I don't want to speak for the horse council, but you know, what we heard from testimony is that these folks are doing all of these things or multiple of these things to like make ends meet. So
Right.
if it was instruction only, but you didn't have leasing or breeding, and if that was half your gross income, you'd be a busy instructor, because that would be really hard to
Yeah.
do just that.
Trying to think of other activities that we heard. I think we've covered it for those five.
I think that for what you said, I could be very tickled with that. I really, really could. It sounds like if somebody is actively trying to make a living with horses, in that way, that, we move things over to the other column and are able to include them, and it's not the hobby folks, it is the people that are actually in business. And, I could be happy with that.
And you said 25 acres or more, or 25 acres?
So right now, horses pasture land, 25 acres or more, that's livestock, that's allowed already.
Right.
This would really allow farm buildings to be enrolled, because that would meet the definition of.
And did we do any costs of what that's gonna take off for?
Yeah, that is the question. We were just sort of trying to prep for this morning. PBR, our division, did do an analysis back in 2013, right? We did like we sampled 28 towns. It's not necessarily that every town has categorized them that way on the grant list, but we can kind of do a search by like keywords, right? Like arena or a horse barn, things like that, in the descriptors that the lister might have. So we could sort of pull that out and get a sense. And back in 2013, I think it was like a $2.4 million revenue loss for the ed fund, and then a little less than $1 million for municipal revenue. Because we repay the municipalities for that lost revenue from current use enrollment.
Right.
So scaling up whatever that would be to today's, it's very rough, right? No guarantee that many farms are still doing this work, or maybe there's more or less, but just that was the last time we did that analysis. So I do know we're gonna try to, you know, sort of scrape that data more recently.
Maddie, do you have a number? A rough, you know, that,
I really don't right now. We've been trying to understand this better ourselves.
okay.
Yeah, I think my understanding from talking to Heidi and Mindy, and sorry, Maggie Lenz, and I'm representing the Vermont Equine Industry Advocacy Group. My understanding from speaking with my client is that we're talking about a universe of maybe 30 farms. That's a really unscientific number. That's the best estimate that we've come up with. We are looking to make this very narrow. So I'm not sure if that fits in with that fiscal amount that Jill just referenced. I really couldn't tell you. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Do farmers make money with horse pulls?
No.
I'm just trying to think of other
They
stuff.
go to the fair,
Yeah,
but I don't think they have them.
they don't win.
They're not,
Okay,
no.
never mind. I'm not looking for more. I'm just
I know, I'm
trying
just
to
thinking of the
think.
size of those horses and probably the food that horse ate just for the horse
Yeah,
pull days, probably.
Just to
outweighed
get
the-
The losing
go,
proposition.
right, I mean, there are some there are some of the more popular pools that
Oh,
pay,
yeah.
you know, decent sized purses, but I don't think that there's any of those pullers that would say that, boy, I made a lot of money today. You know, and
Well, we had a couple farmers that, coin farmers that came in that, especially the one from New Haven or Harrisburg, I can't remember where she was. That, yeah, she works hard, not being able to put her in land use. It's kind of a shame, so I'm hoping this will help.
And if I could just say one more thing, and just to look at it, I know especially in a year like this year, it is I think, hard to look at any impact of the ed fund right now. It's hard to swallow, but this is also an investment in keeping these parcels in use and keeping people here who would leave. And, you know, you heard from a young family, and she's not the only one, a young woman who wants to stay here, wants to have kids here.
For one, I don't think there's anybody in this room, especially two of my senators that I'm in committees with, that I'm a little bit of a fiscal hawk as far as when it comes to money. I think that's probably using the term very politely. But, I have no problems with, trying to grow, the industry as far as horse farms and being under current use and, as long as they're a bona fide business and not a petting zoo where they're actually out there trying to make a living, using horses. And I greatly, I say this very, greatly is appreciative of the tax department working with us. I appreciate it very much. And I like that it's a win-win solution. I like that that it is gonna be, here's your rules. It's not for the hobby folks. This is for people that are making a business, trying to make a living with a business of equine. So thank you. I'm very appreciative. It is what it is, for what I see how money's spent in this building. If in the agriculture committee, we are, looking to expand agriculture in our state. I'm totally happy, that it might cost, some money someplace and, benefit, farmers elsewhere. Anything else?
We've been really grateful for the health tax department and ag as well.
Everybody good?
Yep.
So what next steps?
So typically, I think you folks would get a draft from legislative council that then we could,
Okay, and could you send what we, how, yeah,
I sent it to you. Yes, I'll resend, or I may have sent it to Linda.
I just want to make sure that as a tax department okayed it.
I think this is what we're talking about, right? It's not, to be clear, I'm not an attorney, so I think the issue now is, could you take this and have someone who's better? But
I will, I'm gonna send your draft to, Attorney Showman and then send it to you. That's what I'm gonna do, and make sure. And cut down the steps.
yeah,
Make sure.
it's easier for us to probably respond to what ledge council comes up with, because they might have other.
Yeah.
You know, we did provide a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of feedback on this piece. We don't have any objections, but ledge council might write things differently or.
Yep.
Put it.
Okay,
So that, and they often do, just as practice, sort of say, hey, here's what we've come up with for, you know, committee. That's completely part of the course, and that's great.
I'll get that sent out, as soon as we're done. Thank you. Any questions, committee? Thank you for your work.
Thank you. I guess just a process question, would this be its own bill? Is this?
It's gonna be on a miscellaneous ag bill, yeah.
Okay,
So
nice.
we'll be moving very, very quickly on this. The committee closed it down May 8th. But we might even close down a little sooner than that. We're getting pretty close there.
We're kicking it.
Yeah, we are. Actually are. We're doing a very good job. So, yeah, so it will be in the miscellaneous bill this year.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Committee, anything else? Then, if we have,